Hey everyone. Over the weekend, I was in Palm Springs. And, it's really hot out there, especially during this time of year. It starts to get hot in the month of May. And so you sort of dress according to the weather. Well, one morning I was out with a friend and I wore some shorts and a tank top. My hair was pulled up and, I was just dressed for the heat. At any rate, there was a man, I don't even want to call him a man, there was a guy sitting with his son and I'm assuming a woman to be his wife, and they had an infant with them. No sooner than I walked in, the man was, in terms of his eyes, all over me. And I just ignored him. Most of the time, I try to keep my eyes to myself, not draw attention to myself by giving eye contact, that type of thing. If you give eye contact to a person, then they tend to feel as if you are just as attracted to them as they are to you. And that certainly was not the case. So at any rate, he's sitting there with his wife, with his son, and their newborn baby. And every now and then, he would find a reason to turn his head around because we were sitting behind them. So he would turn his head around to take a look at me. And I know that the woman noticed what was going on. Of course, she didn't say anything, but I could tell that she noticed because I noticed. And I found it highly disrespectful. This isn't the first time this has happened. It's happened other times before where I've been more covered. It doesn't matter. If a guy is going to be disrespectful to the woman that he's with, he's going to be disrespectful regardless of how you dress if he finds you attractive. That being said, the one thing that I thought about was confronting him. This was after they left that I had this thought. And it's one that I will implement. Where I go up to the person, the people together, and I just say to him, I noticed that you were looking at me, and quite often, I'm sure it makes your wife or your girlfriend just as uncomfortable as it makes me. So maybe you should put your attention on the woman that you're with instead of giving so much of it to me. Maybe that would shock them enough to where they would think twice about doing it and possibly never do it again. I'm not sure, but it's worth just putting that out there. It was bad. It was so bad that when his son had to go to the restroom normally, and remember, his back is toward me. So his back is toward me, but every time he would get up so that his son could go use the restroom or whatever, he would turn around and face me, face where I was sitting. Blatant disrespect for the woman he is sitting with. Blatant disrespect. I just wonder, if the woman goes off and she says, if that woman, for example, had went off and she'd said something like, well, why the fuck are you staring at her? Why is your attention so drawn to her? Etc., etc. Then it would have been made to look like she was the one out of line, that she was the one that was crazy, that she was the one being disrespectful, And that's the one thing that I hate about how people, especially men, will turn some shit around and make it seem like the woman was being disrespectful or rude or acting crazy or being or overanalyzing something or being overly emotional. I had another situation like that happen before, and the guy was with his girlfriend. This was a black guy. The first guy I'm talking about was a Mexican, and he was with his girlfriend who was also black. I walked into a store. They were standing in front of me. And his eyes, his attention immediately went to me, and he continued to stare at me without hesitation, without thought, not even trying to sneak. It was just very obvious. And I just thought, wow, how fucking disrespectful is he? And how bold is he that he would actually take the time, put in the energy to sort of embarrass himself and try to humiliate the woman that he's with. You know, I had a man do that to me once, an ex-boyfriend. We had been arguing. We were in a restaurant, and he decided that instead of, you know, having a discussion with me, holding a conversation with me, he was going to stare and put all of his attention on the waitress. And so, you know, I didn't say anything at the table. I waited until we got outside. And I didn't even say anything there, now that I'm thinking about it. What I did was I waited until I didn't speak to him, not at all. I was just completely, totally quiet. I just shut it down. The next day, when he came over, he was so apologetic and, you know, what can I do to make things right with us? And I said to him, okay, this is what you do. We're going to go out tonight. We're going to go to the same restaurant, and we will sit at the table of that waitress, who was not serving us, by the way. That particular night, when she was, you know, when he was sitting there and just eyeballing her and giving her so much attention, she was not our waitress, but he was giving her so much attention that she actually came over to our table and collected his plates, just so she could let him know that she picked up on him watching her. That's how bold this bitch was. So I said, I know how to handle this. I'm going to handle them both at the same time. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. So here we go. I go back to the restaurant. We sit at her station this time. And I told him, when you order your food, you will be looking at me as you order, not at her. When she comes to deliver your dinner, you will be looking at me and not at her. When she comes to collect your dishes, you will be looking at me, not at her. And when dinner is over and she's coming over to our table, you will get on your knees and kiss my feet in front of her. That will send a clear message to you that you will never disrespect me in public ever again. And it will send a clear message to her that she meant absolutely nothing to you. She was just a convenient distraction. He did it, it worked, and he never did it again. I don't put up with that. I do not accept or tolerate disrespect, especially when it's done in my face. Now, had he gone to a restaurant with some of his friends and, you know, it's just guys hanging out and that's what guys do, they check out girls, you know, I understand that. But I refuse to allow any man to disrespect me, especially in public. I feel like it's rude, it's disrespectful to the woman that you're with as well as the girl that you're ogling. It's one thing to look at a woman and, you know, you see somebody attractive. I do it all the time. If it's a woman or a man, if it's somebody attractive, I will look, but then I don't stare. I don't do that. I don't linger. I don't allow that to happen. It's like I'll look, I'll acknowledge it, and then I'll move on. And I think that that's the best way to be, especially in public. I want to know what you guys think. And this is from ladies and guys. If you're a guy and you've done that, what's the reason behind it? Like, I know there can be so many different reasons, but I want to know from you guys, what are some of the reasons why you guys would do that? And from the ladies, I want to know, how do you handle being disrespected like that? Like, what do you do? Do you just handle it spot on, like right then and there? You deal with it, or do you wait until you get home and deal with it? Leave your comments, leave your opinions as they relate to this video. Thank you.